Alright, what's going on, dudes, and welcome back to Minecraft. Today's video may turn out a bit shorter than usual, but what it ends up lacking in length, I assure you it makes up for in the sheer awesomeness of the mod we'll be taking a look at. So because I really enjoy doing 3D work myself, I always get super excited at mods that sort of play around with the way terrain is rendered in Minecraft, be it texture packs that are really high res, or when smooth lighting was first introduced. And this is a shader. It's much like the GLSL shaders mod, for those of you who remember back to that, except it's a standalone. And what it does is it actually plays around with the water and makes it much more realistic in that it allows for reflections, and not only reflections, but it gives the impression that the water is actually sort of moving because it dynamically distorts the reflections, and it looks as if it is raining. Yes, that's wonderful. Rain always seems to come at the most opportune moments. Anyway, the water textures seem to move dynamically, not so much bump mapping, but it's just that it distorts the textures, and it's a really cool effect, and it makes everything look super realistic and nice. And not only that, but the water itself is much more transparent, and so you can like see down to the bottom, and it's so pretty. You really have to see it in person, I guess, to get the full effect, but I mean, hopefully you can sort of see it on the video. And the only thing that doesn't actually reflect seems to be yourself. It's like I'm a vampire. I have no reflection. I actually changed my skin, you may notice, to something quite familiar. I'm sure you've seen this before. And it also doesn't matter what texture pack you're using. For example, I can actually go ahead and switch right over to the default texture pack. And again, everything loads up exactly the same. A bit slower to load, obviously, because the reflections are a pretty graphically intensive process to render out in real time. But nonetheless, super cool. It's almost as if, I'm sure some of you have seen renders that people have imported their worlds into, say, Blender, 3ds Max, or Maya, and rendered them out, changing the water to a Fong material, which is reflective. And well, here you have it in-game. Now, it is in the alpha state. It's still being worked on heavily, so needless to say, there are some bugs. And what can happen is if you go over the water in the middle, there we go. It creates sometimes these weird, empty water disappearing squares that kind of look really weird. So that happens. There's some artifacting that can occur as well. When you look at the water at a certain angle, you'll probably notice the trees kind of spazzing out a bit there when I move my mouse around. So it's not without some work to do, but again, for an alpha state mod, it is very awesome. So I'm actually eager to play around with it really quickly and do a few experiments here. I'm actually kind of curious to see what it'll look like if I go into no clip and take a look from under. That looks kind of cool. So it looks like it still does the dynamic distortion. It just doesn't do the reflection, obviously. Hi, squids. How are you doing? And I guess it looks just the same if we actually go underwater. We still have the haze on our screen, and so I guess it's only when you're actually out of the water that that the shader comes into effect. Nonetheless, super cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and try. Let's see what happens if we line up some glass, make a glass enclosure, and put some water inside that. I'm wondering what it'll look like if we actually have the water just open to all sides. I'm curious to see what it'll look like. So let's go ahead and build a little enclosure for ourselves, and then put the water right in the center. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, so obviously the reflections still stay on the top. The sides are kind of quirky. So I guess it doesn't do the reflections off the side. And let's see what it looks like on the bottom. And the bottom doesn't seem to reflect either. So it appears to just happen on the very top surface of the water. And let's see what takes place if we simply put some down and have it slope freely. It still looks very different, actually. It doesn't look like your standard water before installing the mod, but again, the reflections don't seem to occur when it's running water. It only seems to happen on still water, but still looks really cool, actually. Kind of looks like Jello. I don't know why. But, oh man, this is so cool. This is so cool. So, obviously a link to download the mod you can find in the description of the video. Obviously, bear in mind, it's still in the alpha state, and as time goes by, I really hope the guy chooses to keep working on it and finalizing it and getting rid of any of these bugs. But, God, this is so cool. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching, and actually one more thing I should mention, besides that you can see the cow's reflection in the water as well. It's so cool. Is there was a video just released from PAX of Notch talking about some 1.8 stuff over his own footage. It's basically Notch doing a gameplay commentary of some Minecraft, and it shows off all of the new stuff. So I'll have that linked in the description as well as the mod. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching, and I will see you all later.